Welcome to Poetry with Shing, where we uncover the beauty behind poetry. In today's episode, we'll be looking at Family Entertainment by U.A. Fanthorpe. So the question that we'll be answering today is to write a critical commentary on the following poem, paying close attention to ways in which our response is shaped by the writer's form, style, and language. Without further ado, let's begin. You can follow along my annotations as I've already written on the poem, and I'll be zooming it in for your easy reference. Alright. Family Entertainment by U.A. Fanthorpe is a timely reminder for us to be more aware of our surroundings and consciously lend a helping hand to those in need. Through describing the actions of onlookers who spectate the fireman putting out a fire, the poet highlights the harsh reality of our modern society, which is built on indifference and selfishness, where society habitually but unknowingly is self-centered. Society is unaware of emergencies that require their help and choose to look on as others suffer instead, even taking pleasure in watching them suffer, not only in watching them suffer, much like Schadenfreude. The poet employs clever use of satire to criticize the members of the public for being bystanders during others' time of need, and warns of consequences that come with bystanding. Furthermore, the poet shines a negative light on the onlookers through portraying the onlookers' attitude towards fire. In addition, the poet uses the pronoun we and binary oppositions in the poem to evoke guilt in the reader, thereby criticizing them. By describing the onlooker's attitude towards the fire, which was one of nonchalance and indifference, the poet effectively brings out the message of apathy, indifference, bias, and a more amoral attitude and lack of awareness prevailing in society. The fluid nature of this free verse poem indicates that there is freedom of movement of the public when they are spectating the fire, giving the impression that they do not play a significant role in helping put out the fire. This is further supported by the use of simple language in the poem, which shows the simplicity of the onlookers' perspectives. As the poem is written in first person, it reveals the thoughts of the onlookers, and none of them cares to find out about the losses and injuries as a result of the fire. As they are not concerned about the plight of the victims of this fire, they have little sense of responsibility to help the situation. To them, this fire is just a performance which entertains the onlookers, but otherwise is insignificant and does not leave any impact on the onlookers. The portrayal of the selfishness of the onlookers paints them negatively, indirectly criticizing them for their actions. Besides being selfish, the onlookers seek to distance themselves from the fire, as can be seen from the title and the vivid imagery created. The title Family Entertainment suggests many people who are related from the word family engage in the spectating of the putting out of the fire and treat it as an activity for leisure, as suggested by entertainment. So there's an idea of leisure. I'm going to add on to the existing annotations. By treating the spectating of the fire as an activity that many engage in their leisure time, it shows the onlookers are not feeling for the victims of the fire and witness the fire for pure enjoyment. As the onlookers watch on without empathizing for the victims or feeling a sense of urgency of the situation, the poet conveys the sense of distancing of the onlookers from the fire. In addition, the sense of distance between them is shown through the vivid imagery of the onlookers watching the firefighters put out the fire with the same detached attention as they do when kite watching and playing ball games. So this idea of kite watching and playing ball games can be found here, highlighted in blue. Watching and playing ball games are for leisure, unlike the situation of the fire, yet the onlookers adopt a similar passive stance when observing it. The detached attention suggests the onlookers are witnessing the events of the fire unfold, but are detached and distanced from it. As the onlookers are detached from the fire and are simply watching on, the poet calls the reader to reflect on their actions through evoking guilt in them. The binary oppositions and use of pronoun we highlight the poet's intent of criticizing the public for their act of bystanding in others' trying times. The use of contrasting colors and contrast in imagery convey the disconnect the onlookers have with the fire. Where the onlookers stand with no apparent alarm or anxiety, there is a blue sky and green trees. So that would be here, blue sky and green trees. Blue and green symbolizing calmness and peace. On the other hand, the red fire burns on. So you can see that there's already a binary opposition using red. The contrast on colors with blue and green once again symbolizing calmness and peace, makes the red more violent, raging, and makes the raging fire seem dangerous. This difference in colors show how the onlookers are unable to feel for the victims of the fire and merely look on. Furthermore, the contrast in imagery, with the nature juxtaposed with the destructive force of fire, evoke the sense of distance between the fire and the onlookers, thereby criticizing how the onlookers refuse to use their advantage of being in a position of safety to lend a helping hand to those fighting the destructive and dangerous forces of nature. Besides that, the use of the pronoun we indicates the poet is speaking to a collective group and addressing the reader personally through the use of the first-person perspective. This will evoke a sense of guilt in the readers and jolt them into thinking about their selfishness and giving them a timely reminder not to be an onlooker. Towards the end of the poem, the satirical note of the poem becomes more apparent, mocking the onlookers and bringing across the underlying word of warning to the onlookers on consequences of their bystanding. After the fire has been extinguished, the onlookers wander away and sniff the scorching in their own kitchens. There is a new source of fire, and it exists in the onlookers' house, highlighting the irony as the onlookers now have to face the problems that they had just witnessed, giving the warning that what comes around goes around. So you can see here, we sniff the scorching in our own kitchens. In our fast-paced society, we often become more focused on ourselves as we wish to keep up with the times, resulting in increasing selfishness and lack of awareness of our surroundings through trivializing such devastation. This shows how inhumane we are. This poem ultimately serves as a message that what comes around goes around, and it is only with a change in mindset of helping the situation instead of bystanding will there be a stop to the endless cycle of having to play the role of the onlooker. That marks the end of today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and goodbye.